Welcome back to the Bigwater Podcast. Chris, why are you laughing?
Just the bickering or the bantering back and forth.
Isn't that half of what this is about?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, you ever see those guys? Like, you run a bunch of guide trips with us. You see these guys in there, and they're like, they don't talk to each other. It's an awkward, long day.
Yeah, that's for sure. It definitely helps make it a little bit lighter situation.
I mean, we were talking about Doug and the bag of dicks earlier, which, I mean, I don't know. You know, fun fact, Country Steve, he got me a bag of dicks. Like, it's 1,000 of them in a little bag with a little nice thing. Apparently, you can get that at Amazon very inexpensively. And you guys wondering? But well, actually, let's get back to what we're talking about. Kind of, not sort of, but big water fishing. That's what we're doing here on the podcast. But that's what we were doing the last couple days, right? So you guys that don't know and haven't seen, you should have, because we had Captain Chip Cartwright, longtime friend and sponsor, Silver Streak Lures. We had him down there in Lake Ontario with my buddy Doug, Fish USA, and then Captain Chris. I don't know how many times you've been on various things through the years, or camera boat drivers and all that good stuff. But we were salmon fishing. This is kind of our fun/work trip. Like, it's hard to call this a work trip, but it is, because, I mean, what are we really doing here?
We're field testing new colors for next year, but we were working pretty hard the last couple of days. Fish were biting.
They were biting. Yeah, it was good. And in all seriousness, as good as things are, and people, I don't know if the video will be out before or after this podcast, but we've got a day on the lake where it was pretty much a smash fest. But we're not even going to talk about the day we videoed. They can go watch that. What we're going to kind of talk about is what happened today, which we didn't have a camera out, and you called it, quote, your best day in 25 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that many fish on the back of the boat.
Yeah, like Doug said, where they're at on Lake Ontario, you can't, if you legally had that many, the man in green jeans would be coming after you. Right?
That's very true.
So tell me a little bit, like, we're up here, obviously, for people that don't know, haven't listened to this, we got to understand that somebody may be a first-time listener, long-time caller, no-time listening, or something like that, or the other way around. But there's a lot that goes into the spoon stuff. As much as you throw them on the table and you're like, oh, they all look good. Like, they all look good. I don't know if I've ever seen hardly a spoon that I'm like, oh, that's ugly, or even walleye blade or whatever. But for some reason, there are little changes to the way that thing's laid out that makes them catch a whole lot more. Am I wrong?
No, you're correct. I mean, that's a lot of it. And a lot of stuff that we like to do is once we get a good pattern, like the broken nose, it was so good. And it's good for walleye. It's good up here for salmon. You see a lot of the new stuff. Same pattern, we're just running different colors through there, doing different glows and different, like the one that's been pretty good. We put antifreeze over the glow and some UV tape, and I mean, just trying it a bunch of different ways, changing the dots a different. Maybe I do a blue glow and a green glow and see if I like the blue glow or the green glow better. It's just the little things. I mean, everything catches a fish, but the goal is to shorten that time between bites.
Have you seen, like, throughout, I'm not talking about in the last 6 months, I'm talking through your time of doing this, a color like broke nose on spoons, you painted crankbaits for me. How many patterns can you think of have been, like, just they work for salmon, walleye, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, they just work?
Not many. I mean, pink panties kind of goes both ways. It was okay for salmon. We did a gold version. But lately, you know, seems everything is the new UV tape and stuff. Everybody wants that, and it seems to be working. I don't know. Maybe it's because there's more of it in the water, but it's definitely producing a lot of fish. You know, all the new colors we've been doing lately have that. Even over the glow, I'm putting UV tape on there, but it seems to be working. They can't argue with results.
So I know you took kind of a little bit of a break for the salmon thing for a few years, and then kind of in it, back out of it. I think you got burnt out with Pops there, the founder of Silver Streak, just grinding you in.
Yeah, well, a little bit of that, and when my kids were little too. You know, it's easier to go catch walleye when your kids are little and keep them entertained. So that's why I kind of shifted to Lake Erie. Plus, we were coming out when I started work with you. We were doing the spinner blades, and so I kind of shifted gears and did a lot of walleye stuff. But missed the blue water. I didn't come up here for I think 12 years. But we're back. This is, I think, the third year I've had the boat up here.
So where I'm going with that is you've done a lot more salmon fishing than I have. And Doug, you have too. Like, you're a Lake Ontario guy. You go up there quite a bit, fish some derbies and all that stuff. Kind of the elephant in the room, and so you guys can pick on Doug here a little bit. He hasn't been on Lake Michigan before.
Never.
We broke your
time.
cherry.
Oh, this is your first time?
It's the first time ever.
Aye.
I mean, it looked like it a few times. But in all seriousness, so take the mic here. What differences? Because it's it's Great Lake salmon is Great Lake salmon, but it ain't. And even in my time, like it used to be over here, you'd catch 1 million fish, but they were small. And on Lake Ontario, now it's kind of almost flopped, generally speaking, as far as quantity and quality. But give me a little breakdown for somebody listening to this that is thinking about going salmon fishing, or maybe they've only gone on Lake Huron or Lake Michigan or something. You know what I mean? For seeing some of the key differences.
Yeah, I mean the number one thing it's the most apparent to me that was different is just the water clarity. Lake Ontario is just much greener water. Here it's very, very clear and just very different. Just looking at the water and how far down you can see the baits that you're using. That was very apparent. The other thing is fishing so dang early. I'm not used to going out at 4 in the morning fishing in the dark. That's not something that's very typical on Lake Ontario. Obviously, it's very everybody does it here, and it definitely works. We caught several fish in the pitch black, dark. But yeah, I mean that's the tactics are still very, very similar. Downers, divers, lead cores, coppers. But yeah, the biggest, no doubt about it, is just the water clarity and how different it is.
You know what I think it is? It's on Erie for walleyes. It's no different. Like blue water, bad, right? Like green water means there's life. There's the bait fish, the whole food pyramid. But when you don't have a choice,
right?
Like so much of this is what it is. Now, when you get over to Green Bay, obviously same body of water, but long way away. Like they don't have just a little bit of time to jump over there, and then it's probably a temperature thing at that point. Too.
Yeah, I mean, the water we fished the last 2 days, we would have never even set up in Lake Ontario.
Well, we didn't when we were with you, and
No
we areas we wanted to go and the way we wanted to do. You were like, "Don't stop."
Yep.
We were going through at 30 miles an hour, and that decision was made.
Yep. No, it's a different deal, and I'd love to just fish here for a longer period of time to really just see the ebbs and flows of the every day. And it's been great fishing the last couple of days, but to see those tougher days when it gets tough, what to change, that would be really intriguing to me. It's been just phenomenal fishing, but and it's not always like that, and I certainly know that. But yeah, just more time on the water, just seeing the different how things change. We saw yesterday the sun came up a little bit, and it just kind of really started slowing down, and that's I think typical for salmon fishing in general. But it definitely, I would say the bite would probably prolong a little bit more in that greener water in Lake Ontario than it does here. But I'm sure there's days here where they bite all day.
Well. Yeah, I don't think these guys are getting up at 4 in the morning just for shits and giggles.
No.
Right?
No.
How long have you seen through, let's say, the last 20 years or something, has this water always been that kind of deep Caribbean blue? Is that just Lake Michigan?
Oh, no. It's, back when we started in the early 80s and stuff, I mean, you couldn't see 6 feet down in the water column here. That's why we did the silver plating, trying to get any kind of flash to grab those fish's attention. Now with the zebra mussels, and they've cleaned the lake up so much, back then you never ran lead core. You'd run 5 downriggers and a couple dipsies, but you could catch fish all day long. Now with the water changing, we've had to go to all these different stealthy tactics and get the stuff out away from the boats and quiet. And it's like when the boat pushes the fish out, you always got to have something where the fish are going to. Hopefully they swim by your baits and look, but it's changed a lot in the last 40 years.
Well, even in our time, just me and you fishing together when we're up here, a lot of times it's been just me and you in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can't run as many rods, and we've noticed that, you sometimes, especially when we were fishing at some of the ports north of here, where, you were like, you went out and had your stuff set, and then we talked to some of the guys, and they're like, oh, no, you've got to be 30 feet behind the ball. Oh, no, you've got to have a 14-foot leader. Like, so today, I don't want to get into it too deep yet, but we ran really long leaders. We'll just say that. Longest leaders we've run together on our divers.
I changed setups a little bit on the divers.
And again,
what we did last year.
I mean, Chris, me and you have been coming up here with Chip for a while too. Have you seen, how long has it been since you've seen that good of a rigger bite?
Oh, it's been a long time. I mean, like I say, I grew up coming up here too with just family and things. And honestly, like you said, you always felt like if you didn't have 4 riggers at least on your boat, you weren't going to have any good luck. And even if you look at a lot of the boats today, they've gone down to 2, maybe 3, and then went to, like you say, more of the coppers and things to spread things out. And honestly, like you say, today was one of the best rigger bites I've seen in a very long time.
Before we get into the like presentations, because again, I've been doing this long enough. If I put a video out that says 5 best thunderstick colors, which we just did with Fish USA, it's going to get 1 million views. That's whatever. That's the fun stuff. Like that's the candy, right? But the meat and potatoes, kind of like you, Doug, said when we were in Lake Ontario, like don't stop here. Knowing that on that body of water, green is good, blue is goo, no good. And here, these little things. And I think temperature would be one of the biggest things that people don't realize. And I'll tell you my walleye experience of like, beta knock and stuff like that, where you'll go in there and again, I have a fish hawk. A lot of those guys that don't have that, they don't know, they're looking at their surface temps. But you put that thing down 15 or 20 feet and you realize just because of a wind direction change, like it's hard to even wrap your mind around it. That water has changed 30 degrees. And you're like, that's a lot, right? Because of just it being moved around. It's not that the water goes warm and cold as far as that, if it was in a cup. But what happens is it's being moved from that deep to shallow or vice versa and kind of flopping, right?
Well, yeah, compare yesterday to today. I mean, we were south yesterday and the temp break was about 30, 32 foot down. Today it was at 75 foot down.
I mean, we're going to like muff Chip for a second. You guys, was he shitting bricks this morning? Because when we saw the temperatures,
Yeah.
Like he was all nerved out because he knew we were going to kind of ride him or something. Not that he can change anything, but those temperatures were really warm. And even as we went through the area that we caught him really good at, it was 45 to 70 at the ball, just as we went through these relatively small areas. Right?
Yeah, a big change once we get up around the point, or we're getting close to the point.
So for people that haven't watched our million things that we've said this before, maybe a little recap. Prime temperature range that we're looking for. Is that we got a fish hawk, we know to look for the temp range.
I mean, the old school average is like 54 degrees. They salmon like. I don't think they're as temperature specific as they used to be because we haven't imported eggs in forever and a day. I think the fish have acclimated to the Great Lakes, at least for us here. We can catch them in 60. I mean, we're still taking fish up high in that warmer water. Where they'll go up there and feed a little bit. And we took some down in 47 degree water. It's kind of today's a hard day to tell because we really couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, it was game on for us, and no matter what we did, even trying to figure out if new colors were working or different stuff, I mean, everything we put out was freaking getting bit. So it's like,
well, but in fairness, it is the best time to experiment is when you're catching, not when you're not catching.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because then we did have. I'll let you say what it was if you want to, but we did have one thing that did not catch. Like we literally had 6 salmon on at one time. Everybody's reeling. We got just disasters of things trying to crash in, and we had one thing riding out there. And I think it was you, Chris, or Doug, one of you two were like, I don't know what that is, but it sucks.
Yeah, that was true.
it got fired.
But we didn't even have time to fire it because it was, it's kind of the same thing with walleye fishing. Like it's more important for me to get things stacked around that and get more stuff in the water and then work around that or just let that thing drag. But again, generally speaking, if you put an average of 100 trips together, you want to look for that water that's at least 45, maybe 55. Again, we could catch them in 60, but that's that kind of range, right?
Yeah, I think even more than the temperature. I mean, you want to be in that mid 50s, but you get it go from in the short area a big change. In my belief, it's just like that's 2 different columns of water where you're getting a big change. It's just where stuff congregates because there's different currents and stuff right there. So it's all. I mean, you're always looking for where the bait fish, and it's not the alewife. It's looking 5 steps below an alewife with the spiny sea fleas and where that stuff is gonna be at because we're 10 rungs up the food chain from that stuff, but it all goes back to food and where those fish are lying. So,
Doug, how does that compare with Lake Ontario's window for temps?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, I think we're in the springtime. We're looking 42 to 43 degrees, but I think as you get closer to fall, those fish are going to start coming out of temp and be in that warmer water. When their internal clock says it's time to go, they're going. And I think we're getting close to that time of year. We're mid-August here, and certainly as we get closer to September, they're going to be out of temp, and you'll catch them in 60, 70 degree water.
So for people that don't salmon fish at all, again, you got to assume that people maybe don't do this. That's what they're listening to this stuff for, is to learn more or what have you. These fish are moving in, right? So explain kind of what's happening. Like middle of the summer, they're out farther. I would say I wouldn't want to swim in from where we were at if you would have thrown me in, Chip, which you several times offered to do. But like we were within a couple miles of shore.
yeah, not far out.
So
Not
explain
many.
kind of this, what's happening, where these fish, what they're going to be doing shortly.
Well, even like yesterday and today, we were fishing a lot closer to shore yesterday, but there's a big shelf down where we were fishing yesterday, and we were fishing up tight in there. We got off a little deeper, 100 foot of water, but when we got down there, the water was ice cold, so we went real close to shore and just trying to find out where those fish were laying. But today we're out. There's a big bank that goes along the coast here, and we were working that temperature break was, like I say, 72, 75 down or something. So I was working from anywhere from that 75 out to 100, 110. But it seemed like the closer we got, real tight on that 80 foot, getting the riggers really close to the bottom, we were really getting the bites.
So not to interrupt you, but we are on location. So those of you that are watching this in the video, we have a dumpster. We had a lot of dumpster fires in this boat happening, but right behind us, I wish we could flip this around. There's a guy trying to dock a boat. And when I say trying, that would be a good word. The ropes have been thrown back in twice. I haven't heard the insurance man called or collisions, but we are really close. So this is, honestly, it's funny because the people seem to really, based on downloads and things, people seem to love these on location things. A little more of a round table for us here. Maybe we could just do these, people just comment. They watch videos and they comment. Like, dude, this guy, that girl just got smoked in the face, bro. Oh my! I heard them calling for the bow line, and then the people are looking, what does that mean? So, oh my gosh, this is hot disaster. But at any rate, let's get back. That was a good sidebar. But so the temperature thing is huge, right? So you guys that are listening to this, because I think the thing that you guys have been doing this forever. We always have to dumb this down and think about, if we were to go do this for the first time, or even like you, right? If you came over here, Doug, in your own boat, even though you salmon fish a lot, you'd be like, okay, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody always says. Where do I start? That's why everybody's always like, where do I go? They're on coordinates. I want this and that. That changes so much because, again, the water temperature, the clarity thing more probably in Lake Ontario. But again, if somehow we had green water here, I guarantee there would be more fish in it because of the food pyramid. There'd be more, alewives or the plankton, and it's this whole thing. We actually did a podcast with the people that did a 3-year documentary. I'm not sure, again, if that's going to be out before or after this. Crazy stuff. They have underwater cameras, $1 million cameras, watching lake trout spawn. Insane stuff, watching the gobies eat the eggs and all these things. And they talk about the food pyramid and how Lake Huron is cleaned up so much that it's causing the food pyramid to not do good things, which what happened there, all of them swam from Lake Huron over to here. I mean, I'm not going to say there's not salmon in Lake Huron, but there's not many salmon in Lake Huron. Lake trout.
Not like there used to be.
Greasy trout. So, but anyway, so the temperature thing, again, when you're out there, I think the biggest thing is just with guide clients, Chris, right? We get guys and they run multiple days and we go out there and then we start in a different spot and they always, what do they say? You want to take me back to the good stuff where you're holding out? And you're like, no, it changed. Especially in the springtime with water clarity and it's the same thing with this, right? Just below the surface. It's not visual. That's why the fish hawk is so critical to make that move. Like you said, maybe it's moving into 40 feet of water, even though you think of salmon, hey, I shouldn't be in 40 feet of water right now.
Well, I mean, the fish hawk paid dividends today. Even when, we were whacking away really good and stuff, and we got up toward the point, all of a sudden that water temperature was climbing, and we had moved the chute rigger. And we had that melee with all the fish on, but I'm like, well, we got everything up. Let's spin around because the water is warming up. Let's get back to where we had cooler water and the good bites.
Which even stop you for a second there. So he went over something fast, but we didn't have any rods left in the water. A lot of people would have, thrown stuff in the water, right? That's what you want to do. Smartly, he said, hold up, boys. We spun because, again, you don't want to try to set stuff. This isn't walleye fishing with 30-foot leads. When you've got hundreds of feet of line out, you want to have that boat straight so that you can get everything out without tangling and basket weaving together. So that was again, for somebody that doesn't know, they don't, that's a huge audible there that definitely caught us more fish and no tangles, right?
Well, it saves you time because we only had one rod left in the water. I could spin right around and get us lined up and get everything out. Instead of, if I had everything out, you got to do a nice, slow, long turn you're killing 15, 20 minutes to get the boat turned around.
Oddly
Where it
enough,
took us 2 minutes and we're back online and going.
oddly enough, when a captain has one rod in the water, it's usually he's really shitty or really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say about today. I mean,
Well,
Chris, you felt like you had something on the tongue there.
No, I was just kind of getting at too. Like, I mean, as walleye fishing, a lot of times we go to structure, like a reef, a contour, do whatever. Basically, salmon fishing, I mean, your structure is the temperature breaks.
Well said.
And I mean, literally just finding them and working them. I mean, if you're getting fish in an area, stay in that area.
Because that's where the food's going to be.
Mhm.
Like one of you guys said, it was like, these things they're eating machines. Like as particulars, you're like, oh, you got to have this dot and this thing on there. Like that's fine-tuning. These are eating machines. You need to present the thing at the right place at the right time, and you're going to get them. Don't come out there at noon and think like, oh, what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like a city going out there this morning at 4 something or whatever it was.
One of us were always trying to watch where we're going and really watching what everyone else was doing, just to make sure they're staying away from us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how you do this without like a captain. I mean, I know most of these guys have mates, but I mean, that's an all hands on deck. Just like you said, me and you were both watching because guys just doing 90-degree turns. It's pitch black. We were in 3 to 5 foot rollers, and I mean 0 light, right?
Well, and normally if we have salmon guys, I mean, luckily Doug was with me. He knows how to salmon fish, so that saved our ass today. These walleye guys.
I feel like I feel like it's
we
coming.
got one on the rigger. It's looking over here in the divers. Luckily Doug can't had them divers right up out of your way.
I love Doug, but Doug
somebody
doesn't
thought
do
he was
anything
walleye
cat-like.
fishing, and gets the fish to the back of the boat. What do I do now?
Or we're just like, oh, there goes the 300 copper, and we're like, where's Ross?
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
Gone.
Bust on my own podcast. Can we talk about the net job I did 3 feet below the water?
That was impressive. I'll give him that.
Aggressive because I saw what was going to happen there. Somebody wasn't paying attention. I made it look good. It's fine. It's no big deal. But anyhow, I mean, again, the ball busting. That's what we're here. I mean, we are testing colors. We're having some fun, but that's kind of what this is camaraderie thing. Like this is costing us money. I fish for a living to make money. This is not, we're all losing money here, but it's part of the process, right? Shooting you guys a podcast. I think we have a really good video that you guys are going to like. Hopefully you can appreciate the chaos. I think that guys that definitely fish, we get a lot of really good comments when we have one of those chaos videos where people they feel that, you know what I mean? Even though it's the worst production, we can't do as much talking. It doesn't look old school TV, but I'm happy that it's like that because it's just a shit show.
Yeah, and honestly, you can still get some tangles. And honestly, I'm really shocked that there wasn't many demerits.
Well, I have that on. I have a list. And there's demerits. It's not too late to issue demerits, okay? And you did get one that we're going to talk about, but we didn't have time to do demerits, and that's why I kind of I mean, Chip, in all seriousness, I know you take again neighbors, friends, your wife's friends, and kids with your kids' friends, and how the heck? Because we had 4 people that can do almost everything from run the boat to set the stuff. When you don't have that, I mean, in that melee we've had the last couple of days, how can you handle that?
Not normally. I mean, but we don't see many melees like we had the last 2 days. I mean,
we were saying we'd catch.
There was 4 guys reeling across the back of the boat, and we had 2 more fish going. You couldn't even one guy net, and it's like, well, there goes another rod. What do you do?
Well, and that's kind of one of my points of is I get that with walleye fishing all the time, where people, and I get it, guide clients or friends, it doesn't matter, media people, whoever I have in my boat, and they're like, oh, you get this with guide trips, and they're like, oh, and they want to run on one. I'm like, no. We need to set around that, or we need to, before you start cranking on the fish. Mm-hmm. This is a little different. I've said it. These salmon will mess stuff up much faster than a walleye will, right? But there has to be organization because, I guess my point of this would be and I don't think people really understand this. You can say this all day long. Good problems, 6 fish on at one time, can become the worst thing of your day. Aside from hundreds of dollars of trash tackle, you could be down half of the rods that are in your boat and you're done because they're wrecked because they're all woven together, So what are some things I mean, even though I'm way more OCD, do you believe that than you? I like systems. Yeah. I mean, your systems are they're not Bigwater systems. You know what I'm saying? I'm throwing that out there. I had to bring another Fish USA net for you because, I mean, you seem to like to put 3 salmon in one net, and it causes problems.
you do what you got to do some days. But
Yeah. But
I mean, there's organized chaos today, but when we had all those fish on, it's like when the board rods are going, they're still on the boards and they're out. So you take the stuff that's underneath it first, and get the riggers in or the divers and work at them. They'll come in faster than getting a board. And, if you try to bring that board line in, that for sure he's going to go right up and get in your copper line and wad it all up. So
I mean, Doug, you fish with some really good guys on Lake Ontario. I mean, I'll say this: there's two things, like, because people listening to this can be like, "Well, I don't have an extra X number of dollars to spend on and have an extra." Because, like, again, I do this for a living. Like, people all the time are like, "I can't believe you got this many rods," until they're in the boat with me and they're like, "We're catching them on 7 colors," and they're like, "What do you mean you only got 2 7 colors?" or whatever. So there becomes a point of you can either only carry or afford so much stuff. Like, I get that on the average guy. Now, when you do it for a living, it's a different level of preparation probably is expected, or I'm going to do. But I think there's things that don't cost as much to me, like extra rod holders.
Sure.
Moving things around. Like, Chip's got double rod holders on the cannons, and 90% of the time they're not used for that. They're used to move the other rod over, or he's got a dipsy in there so that we're not tangling. And I see a lot of guys that are running 8 rods, they got 8 rod holders. And when I look at that guy, I'm like, this guy, he ain't prepared to do work.
Yeah.
Like, he can't do it.
No, I totally agree. I think the one thing too is salmon fishing, kind of in the chaos, is there's a point which you just got to slow down and just kind of take your time and just really understand what that fish is doing. And when they're out there, they kind of have a mind of their own. And like Chip said, taking those closer fish first is important, while letting those fish that are out on the longer lines just kind of hang out there and just keep the line tight. They're not going anywhere. But it can save you a whole lot of tackle and cast. Because to your point, like, if you're down for a half hour during the peak bite in the morning, you can't make that back up.
Well, and that's the thing too, where I'm always, my mind is, obviously, you guys know, I'm go, a little bit of a slave driver at times there because you have so much, like a 300, like, if that's what's going, it takes so much time to get that in. Like, it just, you can't rush that. And then you can't let another one out, because now all of a sudden we're going to have another problem. And that bite window is only so long. Like, you've run out of time.
Yep.
Right? Like, you get down 40 points in football in the fourth quarter, like, you can't have the ball enough to score. And it's kind of the same thing with this. But I'm just getting back to things, and maybe you guys just each give me a little point of something where, like in my boat, I have extra nets. Have them accessible, not hung up on cleats and things like that. Create a system for your boat. Have extra rod holders. Chip's got a bunch of ratcheting Bert's rod holder tubes here, which you need. Like, something that's strong, it's not going to get ripped off. Little plastic things are probably not the best for this. The stuff that works for walleyes sometimes are not good. It's one of the reasons I use their metal aluminum riser cradles. But I think the things that, and we had this happen multiple times, so I'm going to bring this up. There are things that if somebody says, well, I don't have the money for that, or I'm not going to do that. There are things that don't take money. It just takes preparation. Like swim noodles with extra leaders tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Extra hooks. I don't know how many hooks that we just, again, from rushing to get them out, or just some of them were just buried and they were tore up. And once you bend a hook with a salmon, with walleyes, you can bend that back. You're okay. Maybe not shouldn't, but you can get through. You bend a hook with salmon with a pair of pliers, on that next fish, that will be back where it started, or gone, right?
yeah, they're just too strong. It's best to change it. And
terminal tackle is another one. Like, through the years, just with guys buy shit terminal tackle, that's a bad deal. And you can get terminal tackle, I think, nowadays. Like, Fish USA's got their own private label stuff that I use. We've got VMC stuff that's really good. That's for the price. It's just really good stuff. If you don't have good terminal, I guarantee you that's where it's going to go.
Yep. Good leader line. It's another one.
And that was one of my talking points that I always give Chip a hard time for. But I really think that we had 1 or 2 fish, because, again, when you have a wire diver and that gets rubbed up against dude, that's like me fighting Doug. I mean, what's going to happen. What's going to happen. But in all seriousness, like, that you burn that, even if it doesn't happen right then, it's the next fish. You're like, what happened? And that already happened before.
Oh, yeah. And even going in the net, I mean, like I said, that 6 to about a foot or so that's by the lures in the net. I mean, that thing bouncing around on the deck, trying to get it unhooked. I mean, it just frays those leaders right up.
And so what I wanted to talk about, because obviously you just ordered some from Fish USA, is true leader line. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand the difference. Like, they say, oh, it's fluorocarbon. there are a lot of different grades of resins that are used in fluorocarbon, like just regular fluorocarbon line. And then there's leader material. And me and you were filming a little deal where we were using 3-ways with a Hottentot and a little small silver streak spoon for walleyes. And I remember I told you, I was like, dude, you got to tie these on leader line. And you got some P-line Shinsei there. Kind of tell them the difference.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a bit stiffer. And having that, like I say, stiffer line, it's just not so limp, and it doesn't, curly Q on you as easy and twist up, and it's definitely a big difference.
I mean, multiple times when we had things wrapped around, I watched you guys bite with your teeth. With my dentist said he loved you. I mean, he watches these videos and he's just like, dude, I love you guys when you do that. But in all seriousness, there's no way you could do that with 20-pound like leader material P-line Shinsei. Like, you're not biting. If you do, you definitely are going to have to go see the dentist. But little things like that, it costs a little more. But in theory, you don't break off a $10 spoon or a $20 paddle and fly combo. And I think also you get, like on some of those things, you get a little better action. That thing stays stiff. You could argue that. But I know you don't go through as many, for sure. Leader line. I brought you some last year. I'm going to bring you some more. It makes a difference. It really does. And then even the knot.
Mm-hmm.
Like on fluorocarbon, I see guys tying polymers and things like that. Like, there's a lot of things we can argue about. I'm sure we could argue about spoon colors or sizes or things like that. And because one day, the guy's he does the other things right, and he thinks that was the color that made the difference. I mean, me and Chris fished next to each other side by side quite a bit. And at the end of the day, we're doing completely different lure things, but we both caught them, right? Because you're doing the other stuff right. But I think that some of the little things there, people misinterpret what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And having the stuff that really, really matters, but leader line, big deal there. What else did we learn from Lake Michigan to Lake Ontario, Douglas, besides water clarity? Because we gave you a little bit of a sampling, a good sampling. I don't know if I think Lake Michigan almost showed out just for you.
It did. Well, it was tremendous fishing. As I mentioned earlier, the presentations are very similar, but I think the diver leader lengths are definitely a lot longer here, and I think that goes back to the water clarity, and it makes perfect total sense of the way that a lot of the divers are run here versus how they're run in Lake Ontario. In Lake Ontario, we'll run stuff, whether it's on the riggers or the divers, really short. It's because I think in the waters that they like that disturbance or use it as an attractor. Where here it's so clear, they're going to be able to see that. I mean, even when you shine those lures up in the morning, I mean, they got to be able to see that from a long way away. And that's not going to be the case in Lake Ontario, where it's just a much smaller window that they can actually see. So, that's one of the things tactically I think is, again, fishing a diver, but how we fish it, the length of leader that's being used is all very important from lake to lake.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess, again, the green water thing. We see the same thing with walleyes, but I'm surprised because I know you guys, I know you use what I would still call finesse things. Like, I still think salmon, as bold as they are, they still require some finesse tactics. I mean,
yeah, no question. I mean, there's days where, whether it's a smaller spoon or, leader pound test, it all matters to some degree. Some days it doesn't matter. Today it doesn't seem to matter at all. But I'm sure there's days when the bite is really tough. You've really got to work for them, and changing the length of your riggers or your divers, whatever it may be. It all matters, and just generating that one extra bite.
So I would say when you're looking at things, again, this guy sells colors, right? I don't know how many stock colors he got, 400 or something, or it's just something insane, right? But still, it's like, to me, you're like, some of these could maybe rotate a little bit, but you're like location, depth, speed. And the one thing we haven't talked about yet that I thought was kind of the key today, because I'm not saying we whooped everybody's ass today, but I know we were near the podium. You know what I'm saying? Like, we caught them good. Other guys caught fish, but like we mowed them. The speed thing, when we were going through there, we were going, I would say, uncharacteristically slow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, even now, it's with everything going on. So again, I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but I mean, this was one of those deals, like, because I do it all the time. Like, oh, I look like a hero. Where it's kind of an accident. You turn, you start catching them on a slow side, or you start going, you creep down in speed accidentally, and you catch 3 fish, and then you're like, well, we're going to let it go here for a little bit. And you just don't say anything to anybody, right? And it was kind of an accident. You get ready to bump it back up, or sometimes you bump it up faster to set lines and you start railing them and you're like, oh yeah, I knew they would be going faster. That's what we need to do. We were going at times under 2 miles an hour today.
Yeah, 1819 was where I was kind of trying to hang.
Let's discuss this. I mean, on Lake Ontario, is that a thing? I mean, when we all fished together a few months ago, we were doing 3 in cold water in the springtime. So
yeah, I mean, it's every day is different. Every day, sometimes I like it fast, sometimes I like it slow, and I think it also depends on your presentations. We use a little bit of cut bait, but if you're using cut bait, going slow like that is very, very deadly. Spoons, you're generally going a little bit faster, but there's days when they want the spoon slow, and that's just adapting and just seeing how the bite is for that specific day. You go out there tomorrow and they might want it 3 miles an hour, and that's just the part of fishing. That's the fun part of figuring out what they want for that day. Today, it didn't really matter a whole lot.
But I mean, people it's Lake Michigan. There's people around. I would say we had a lot less boats around us than normal. It's during the week. That's part of it, right? But the handful that we did when me and Chris were kind of playing lookout, we're like, oh, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. This guy's angling us. But then they were going so much faster than us that they were just like, see ya.
Walked away from us.
And then it wasn't a problem. And it's like, oh, we're catching real good. Like, don't you dare bump that where you're supposed to be at.
No. And even then, there was no boats around us at that point.
And then, the thing is, too, for somebody listening to this, if you're watching your SOG, because we've had this many times together and I've talked about it, if your SOG is, because I know we did this one time when we shot a video maybe 3 years ago together, our SOG was like 1.5, and there's literally an audio clip of me saying, hey, Chip, do you want to bump it up? And I was up in the cabin and looking at the speed over ground. You're like, you want to check the fish hawk ding dong? Because we were doing like 3 at the ball. And sometimes that number is inverted where it's much faster, above than below or what have you. But our speed really at the ball was 1.8, 1.9. I don't think oftentimes I would kind of glance up there when we had 4 or 5 fish on, and we were under 2, which I think that's the first time I've ever done that with you guys.
Yeah, most of the day we were under 2. I mean, yesterday we were 2-1 at the slowest, 2-3. We were hanging 2-2, 2-3 in the colder water, but I mean, I had slowed down because that guy set up right next to us today, and I was trying to get away from him a little bit, and started taking bites, so you keep after what's ever working. We got lucky on that one. Normally I would have been around 2-1 to 2-2, but circumstances.
How about this circumstance? Working in the dark. So, again, you see, they're laughing. You know why they're laughing? Because it's a shit show, so you make sure you watch that video for sure. I think at some points it's kind of like when you're backed into a corner, you're just making the best of what you can, right? Like, it just is what it is. But, like, I know, thinking ahead, one thing that's, like, be on my list for next year is I think that, like, a headlamp. So Chip's got some big lights. Most of these guys up here got lights on the back of their boat. They turn them on and off or whatever. Your night vision just kind of is what it is. We're charging lures. And you had a little kind of a neck thing that was kind of neat, little lamp. But I think that all of us, especially guys that like people that are doing, like we have reelers and we have doers in our boats, right? Like you guys watching this, you all know you have reelers and you have doers. Like, because I mean, how many people would you let net these if you were in your boat? Probably not many. No, I mean, any rate,
no.
Yeah. But there was times where I'm netting where I'm like, I needed a headlamp on because it's so pitch black and the light's being blocked by one of you bubbas or something going on. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm literally like stabbing in the dark, as they say, quite literally. And those salmon, I mean, again, I'm a really good guy in the net with walleyes. This is a different level with the salmon. Like this is what you have to do, and especially longer leaders where hand over handling some of this stuff. I think that, if somebody's going to go salmon fishing, I would encourage you to put some like blue lights or black lights low in your boat, maybe have some white lights up high or blue or red or something so you can see. Maybe even something as simple as looking at the line counters or trying to see where the other lines are at. Like we were doing that. We were playing Simon Says and, find Waldo as far as watching that line angle, because what you have to understand is it's not right at the surface. Right? It's when you've got 100, 200, 300 feet of line out, what's actually happening way out there to to be proactive with avoiding tangles.
Yeah, using a big flashlight to try to see the boards.
Yes, dumpster fire. I mean, the good thing is you don't have to read them, guys. If you haven't done this, you have to read them. You just and you're like, oh, I think there might be one on there.
Yep.
Now, but with that said, we did have a hanger that I was like, Douglas, I feel like there's a walleye hanging on the outside there. We had a fairly good sized king salmon that hung on a 250-foot copper, I think it was.
It's not often.
And we had a shaker on a rigger. Like, so there are things that, you start towing those things around that can make a mess too. Those things gliding into things. And if you aren't catching, checking is a good thing. I realized today, like, if they watch this video, like, probably a lot of the rules are out the window because it's just pandemonium. Like, we were in survival mode, right? Like, I'm not trying to stress that, but it was cool. Like, honestly, one of the coolest things is you guys don't know Chip like I do. I'm 25. This is my 25th year working with you. Can you believe you haven't fired me yet?
I cannot.
No, I would have fired you.
We all have a weak moment at times, I guess.
But you guys, like, you don't know him like I do. But with that said, this dude over here is not emotional. He was pumped up today. Right?
Yep, he was. He was real excited.
Talk to us about that, Chip. You've done a little bit of fishing. You're chill. I'm hyper. You're not.
No.
But you were fired up.
We were hopping today.
You do a different fired up than what I do.
I was just trying to keep shit in the water. Kept going off, just trying to fire stuff back down and go and keep stuff untangled.
So, again, we kind of talked about this, but I would say the thing, I'm going to say it again, is guys preparing things because of that chaos. Because, again, not being down, we talked about this with walleye fishing 1,000 times. Having an extra size, like your standard size and your magnum size spoons have what size VMC trebles on them?
Number 1 VMCs.
On both.
Yes.
So y'all better buy yourselves a handful of those. Fish USA sells the extra hooks. Get some of those and have them in a box and have them with a pair of split ring pliers in your boat. Because you're going to have that happen, whether it's the fish's fault, it's your fault, excitement, people ripping out because they need the net for the next fish or whatever. And those little things, people don't want to hear about that, but that makes a huge difference. I mean, how many times I'm going to speak for you for 1 second, then you give me your answer. But like, I don't let, when I'm walleye fishing, people unhook, because we just had on video, a guy hooked himself, touched one fish. It happens. They get excited. They don't know the things that we know or what have you. And all of a sudden I can catch 50 fish on a crankbait and it's fine. You let them do it one time and they shred all the hooks. Right. And all of a sudden that bait's down.
Yep. That's so true. So like I said, I'm kind of the same way anymore. I don't let them unhook them or do anything, and like I say, bouncing around in the waves and things too. Like I say, it can be really tricky getting hooks out, and like I say, they just end up mangling them all up or whatever. Then now we got to either find another bait or switch hooks, and like I say, it's all downtime. And just like out here today, doing stuff. I mean, it's kind of help re-rigging and redoing things behind the scenes just to keep things going, because like I said, we kept fraying some lines. I mean, all the fish. And another key too is maybe take a picture of the lures you're running. Sometimes in that chaos, you might lose something and you don't know what you were running. Like I say, we're running a lot of different baits today, especially spoons, new colors that aren't even out yet. And like I say, you don't know which one it was if you lost it sometimes.
Good. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that. I would say the nets too. I know we talked about this very briefly, but like I use a 9-foot handle on my Beckman, and people are like, oh, that's too long. Well, you don't have 9 foot of use between the angle of the boat and where that fish is at. And when they start angling towards divers or riggers or whatever it is, if you can't get that right now, you may have a massive problem. Those couple seconds that you can get that prior. I know Doug brought a long handle. I think they're 8 or 9 foot on that handle on a Fish USA flagship net. And we had to use both of them many times. And having at least 2 nets, I'm probably going to bring you a third next time as a gift. Because sometimes you get a gold watch for working 25 years with somebody. I'm going to actually provide him with a net, and I'm probably going to cut a couple things in the bag too, just because it's me. That's what I would have to do. But so
I expect no less.
let's get into the presentation. And again, I caution, and I purposely started with the stuff like the temperature, the speed, the water clarity, because if you don't do that right, everything that we're going to talk about from here on out is pointless. I don't care what body of water you're on. You can catch them on the wrong color spoon all day long if you did the other things, because some of the colors we caught them on today, I'm not going to lie to you, I was like, okay, because it was so different than the other things that were working, right?
Yeah.
So we started off with glow stuff. So
A
I'll
lot
let
of
you,
glow.
I'll let you kind of, you guys take it from there. Glow spoons, we were glowing them up. Give us a rundown of what our kind of morning spread, what we started with.
We got the riggers in first. We had a big paddle and a pickle sunshine fly down the chute, which has been good the last couple days.
Pickle sunshine?
Yeah.
I feel like that could be my nickname if it wasn't Lobsterson from Doug.
It could be.
Pickled, all right.
But no, glow spoons on the riggers and stuff and on the boards. I think we had some plugs out, and we even ran some cut bait on the low diver.
And so when you say plugs, for guys that haven't done this, like a J plug kind of bait?
Yep, we were running the Silver Horde Ace highs. One I got custom painted. That was pretty good. Not as good as yesterday. The plugs weren't as good as yesterday. There was a pretty good plug bite. Today, not as much. Spoons are really going good. Cut bait went a couple times. The paddle went 3 or 4 until we busted it off and lost it.
Is there a reason that you put the riggers down first?
It's quicker, just so you get something in the water and see what's going on. I always put the chute down first because that's where I run my fish hawk. So I want to see what the temperature, what the speed is down there. Once you can get your speed set where you're getting everything else out. Again, like you say, it's because salmon's usually an early morning bite. You know, you got a short window, so you got to make sure that
You got to make hay
you got
while
the
the
right
sun is not
speed
shining.
and everything. I don't think, like if I had people that don't know how to fish out today, we would have caught half of the fish we got. But because all you guys know exactly what to do and do stuff, Chris is retying stuff, and you know, after every fish, we got to check the leaders because they were afraid a lot, especially the coals were getting, they roll up in it. But you know, having a guy retie, and then as soon as something clears you, yep, throw that back down.
You don't let your neighbor retie baits?
No.
Which
Not
I
normally.
I started to say that earlier, like guys that are tying knots and stuff like Palomar, and then I got ADD'd, is like I use a San Diego jam knot, and I'm telling you that's like the knot you have to tie. But don't tie a Palomar with fluorocarbon because 20-pound test becomes like 15 before you almost even start. And you put them on machines. This is not a subjective thing. So little things like that, and a guy that knows how to tie a knot like makes a big difference tying it right.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So anyway, I got the riggers on the inside. So kind of visualize this. We're in the boat right now. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, riggers are on the inside, and as we work out, we got some divers and explain exactly those setups.
Well, I usually throw my high divers out first, and can we explain what we're doing with the high divers now?
For sure.
So last year you saw we went to 15 or 20 foot leads, and we were hand lining them.
Dumpster fire.
So now I put the offshore releases on the divers, big OR18. So I'm running 30 to 40 foot leads on my high divers, and I'm still running braid on my highs. So I can run a 30 foot lead and clip the diver on and then send it out.
So we were literally, like you guys watch our videos with walleye boards. They're literally, we're taking that off as we're fighting it, and then reeling the whole thing right in.
Which I think the high divers this year have been a lot more productive than my lows. So I might switch the lows to that next year too and run even longer leads on the lows.
So braid on the highs with removable divers,
Yep.
Lure Jensen number ones.
Yep.
And then on our low divers, we were running
Mag divers with the big ring. Try to suck them down real tight. We had cut bait on this side. We had spoon over on this side. Broken nose, I think, which went.
But also to give you a little separation, so those things aren't getting into each other, right?
Yeah. Lows I run on a 1, the highs I run on a 3.
And we had a little special line set up on those. Our low divers.
Special line?
Wire.
Oh, wire divers, yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wire. You know, if you guys watched the video, I think we talked about it in the podcast when we did on Lake Ontario with these two guys, is I said to Doug, I'm like, at the end of that trip, I'm like, what did I not have? Because we were in my walleye boat, and we kind of all, Chip brought stuff, Doug brought stuff, I had stuff. We got stopped at Fish USA on the way there and got some stuff. Like, what do I not have enough of? And Doug's like, wire divers. Like days with salmon, like wire divers, which we just shot a walleye deal doing nothing but wire, and dude, there's something about it. I mean, whether it's getting down easier or the harmonic hum, I don't care which, it just works. It can be a little bit of a pain, but if you got the right setups, the right rods and things, it's not really any worse.
No, it's deadly stuff. And like I said, all I know is it works. We're trying to figure out what it is, whether it's the harmonics for that day or it just gets cut different and gives a different presentation. whether you're walleye fishing or salmon fishing. It's definitely needs to be in the arsenal for sure.
So we were using, for clarification, 7-strand. You can't just use, you don't want to use the single strand. Like if you watched our walleye videos with single strand, you'll lose a lot of stuff really fast. That stuff gets kinked looking at it. 7-strand, you can kind of knot it around and mess with it. Not that you want to, but it can take a lot more abuse. And that was our inside divers.
That was our inside divers, yeah.
And I would say on this trip, Chris, I know you've been up here with us quite a bit, and way before, decades before, with me and Chip alone, we caught more fish on divers and riggers in the last couple of days than me and you have in 5 years of trips. That leads us to what we probably caught the most quantity of on throughout time. And I would say it was equal, though, this time, just because of in and out time. And that was?
Boards.
Boards.
Copper.
What is the board
Copper.
setup? Yeah.
I run all coppers. I do have a couple of my setups that you made me do for walleye with the 832. And we've actually taken some salmon on that.
I made him do. Oh, wait, smashing fish. So sorry. Matter of fact, one of your running buddies, he's a little upset about that. And he ain't going to listen this far in the podcast, so we could just throw him right under the bus. Well, I didn't have any 832 night core, Ross. You didn't tell me. You should have watched the YouTube video, sucker.
So, yeah, I mean, yesterday we were running a lot shorter stuff because the water temp was way up high. We were running 100s, 150s. 200 was our best. I mean, we only ran 250s and 300s today because the temp was way down. I think yesterday we only running high divers yesterday because we were crabbing in the wind it was a pretty weird troll we had to be on to stay in that water depth we wanted. Where today we're pretty much downwind and it was nice, easy. We stuck all 4 divers out and the boards were going. I mean, we could have stuck more out, but.
Well, I had a little method to my madness of talking about this because, again, if you guys are going to go, you go salmon fishing 2 days a year, maybe you went on a charter, right? Or you go with your neighbor or something. The riggers and the divers for so many years, and I hate to like harp on them like it's bad, they've almost just been, well, we can run them, so we will, and we'll pick off a fish or two. It's almost like a slider line or something. Like, well, we can, so we will, and we'll pick up a fish or two. Through the cleaning water years or whatever, the coppers have caught, like that was your money. But it takes so much more time in and out. And the problem, this is where I'm going with this, is if you have downriggers and the fish are at 30 feet, you put the downrigger to 30. It doesn't cost you anymore. Same rod. Dipsy divers, you run less line, or you change the settings, or you put 100 feet out instead of 150 as they come up or the day changes. With copper, kind of like lead core or any of the other stuff, unfortunately, you have to have, like the rocket launcher you probably can't see above us, you have to have a whole bunch of shit. And that is the problem, really, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of rods just to cover all the circumstances because every day is different. Look, yesterday we were running all short stuff. Today we're running all long stuff. The board rods ran today. Never saw the water yesterday.
Well, and that's kind of what's in my head. I mean, yesterday, like if we were fishing a tournament, I would have been like, son of a bitch, we've only got 200s, like 200s yesterday. We're in and out.
Money.
We're in and out. I mean, but the problem is in and out walleye and in and out salmon is 2 different things. Like, I don't know. You ever think about or clock like how long it takes to let one out, if you catch a fish immediately, and how long it takes for it to come back in? I mean, those 200s were literally doing that.
Well, I just know this morning reeling in the 250 or whatever into 300. I mean, there was 3 fish, 4 fish netted and landed in the boat off of downriggers before I even got my board off.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a time standpoint, but they're also, especially if you're in a smaller boat like my Ranger or something, you can only physically put so many rods in there. And like yesterday, when those 200s were absolutely just smoke fire, we had 2. And, we probably could have caught a lot more if we had more. Now today, because you traditionally don't use as many 200s, I'm guessing, right? A lot of those when they're a little bit deeper. Because for those of you that are listening to this that don't get this, that rod, it's segmented. So we have a leader on the front end of it, and then on the back end we have backing. So when you put it out there, it's essentially, as long as you're not going super fast or super slow, there's a determined depth for 300 feet, and that's about 60 feet down. Pretty
close, depending on your speed. Now they were probably a little deeper today because we were going so slow. If you're going 2.4, it's going to be shallowed up 5 or 6 feet, but you're in that range.
And so right out of the gate, again, the difference between somebody that does this a lot or fishes memories, Chip's like, don't put no 200s out.
Mm-hmm.
Because he saw the water temp, he saw where the fish are at on the graph, and we started with 250s and 300s. And again, a lot of guys are going to be like, we caught tons of fish on 200 yesterday. And that's the difference between somebody that fishes memories and is experienced with this is we didn't even put a 200 in water the entire day, but yesterday we lived and died by that. Right? I mean, we did not catch very many on the other stuff. We got some on hundreds early yesterday morning, but again in the pitch black.
Yeah,
and we
they
tried.
died
And we tried. I mean, because walleye style, we let a little more line behind that 150 that we had. We put a snap weight on it. It didn't work. We tried. You know, maybe part of that was time of day or what have you. But how long has it been where you think that transition went from lead core to copper out here? Not that lead core doesn't work, but the bulk of rise, you walk up and down the docks where we're sitting right now, copper's pretty heavy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think we get a little deeper with the copper than a traditional lead core. There's still a lot of guys that run regular lead core. It has its place.
I think there's something with that metal.
Some days, no doubt. There's days with lead core, though. It's just...
Well, a couple of your buddies on Ontario, like I see all the time, they'll run one side with the lead core. They'll run one side with even another one. We're going to throw another like left field in there, weighted steel.
Mm-hmm.
Fish USA. I mean, the amount of weighted steel that you've sold, I bet you those numbers are just climbing.
No question.
People like, and tell them what the advantage is.
I think it's just a much more supple product. You could dump a whole spool of weighted steel on the floor of the boat and wind it right back on the reel. You're not doing that with copper. It's just so much more forgiving.
It's a lot easier to fish.
Just easier to fish. You don't have it blow up on the reel. I mean, we had some reels today. Copper is just, it's tough. It's very stiff, and it's not very forgiving. Where that weighted steel is just a lot easier to handle. I think the diving depth is pretty similar between the two. And then with lead core, there's days where that lead core, I think it just provides a different action. It just does something different in the water versus everything else. Riggers, divers, and copper, it just works for some whatever reason. There's days where it doesn't, but I'm a big lead core fan, huge lead core fan.
I like it. I like it when it's rough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, in small boats, I think that you reduce the surge. We're a whole different deal. If you guys are running big boards or big boats, it's different. You're going into them. It's all those things. But in a small boat, if you guys have a trailer boat like I do, and it's rough, lead core is just, I mean, 20 some years of that, like it's hard to prove that different. But I'm going to tell you, like we just shot a video, like I said, with single strand wire on boards and absolute mo fest. There's something about that metal. I think the weighted steel, the copper, there's something that does different that it just seems to like.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I can tell you that I think is part of it is now they've got all these fancy different devices. And I know Fish USA, you guys sell a few of these. Fishhawk has one that you can run down your line and it tells you like the max depth that lure was at. And I've watched on some of these where guy has 5, 7, and 10 colors out. And because of the density of the water, all five colors should be, let's say 25 feet down on like Fish USA Stealth Core, and 10 should be roughly 50. They're all running at the same depth because of that density, that water is so much harder. And all these lures are at the same, like, we're catching them on everything. And you're like, yeah, because the lures are literally all on the same depth. It's hard to like wrap your mind around that, where the copper and the wire seem to penetrate that. And I think sometimes it does become a depth thing, even though we don't realize it's a depth thing.
Right. No, it's, they all have their place. I think that's the one thing I've learned is don't pigeonhole yourself into one thing. You have options, have different lengths of copper, weighted steel, have different lengths of lead core, and let the fish tell you what they want. I mean, it's at the end of the day, just keep repeating what they keep telling you, and you're going to have good success doing that.
So we had really good success. Obviously, you guys watched the video. Crazy, shameless plug. But Silver Streak spoons, of course, standard size. Mags also did their share. We had that paddle and fly down the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And again, tell them why sometimes even if you don't catch fish, why that's staying in the water. Like this is the not secret with salmon fishing.
Well, I believe that's the draw. Maybe they can see that. Earlier in the morning, I kept it up a little shorter. It's the draw trying to get stuff in to see the spread. That's kind of why I like to run my cut bait on my low divers. I think that's the draw too. Even even if you're not getting the bites on that, I think it keeps the riggers active longer in the morning because that's the draw. It brings them in. Then they might not want that, but they go hit the flashy spoon or something that catches their eye. Everything we try to do is just the more fish you draw into the back of the boat, you're just increasing your odds of getting a bite. Not every fish bites, but I'm a numbers kind of guy. The more fish I can draw to the back of the boat, I've increased my odds of getting bites.
And the stuff that we all took a lot of days in the water to figure out, now a lot of these guys are running a live sonar unit, like Mega Live 2 or something on each side of the boat, and they're watching, and you're seeing just how many fish are coming up on your divers and not biting, or how far they are coming, or how many fish are there, and then you can make adjustments. So maybe you fire the spoons and you put the meat on, because I look at meat rigs like you see in the video, like I call it a Twinkie rig or whatever, but we had a cut bait on the down rod there, and I think we had one on a rigger, for a little bit, and then we had one on the inside diver.
Cut bait?
Alternate. Yeah.
No, it was just on the low diver. On
Low
the
diver?
side.
And, you go on there, and traditionally, to me, that's like, you walleye guys, that's like a night crawler harness. And spoons and all that stuff's like crankbaits and spoons, obviously, right? And then when things get really tough, like the cut bait can be the thing. They just seem to bite that, especially like on Lake Ontario. Once the sun comes up, once it's later in the day, you got the boat traffic. You experience the same thing?
Yeah, there's days where they'll bite it all day. And there's days where when the bite gets really tough, I'd like to use a lot of meat. It generates bites, and I think on average you get some bigger fish on the cut bait. So yeah, it definitely has its place. Just put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, spoons were spoons were the dominant thing, but obviously we had a few more in the water. The paddle and fly, that did its share. That caught some good ones. We had a few snafus with that.
We did.
Chris got us another one.
Well, it took a while, and like I say, we're mid to end of August here, and like I say, a lot of the stores, they're not stocking the stuff anymore, so some of their supplies.
You did a sneaky move.
Yeah, I went and asked one of the stock people if they had any out back, and luckily he found one.
That's OG trick right there. I like that. So should we go around and talk about some demerits?
Can start with you?
How could we have one of these and not talk about demerits? Chris, you seem to be like a dean with how many demerits, either issued or taken. You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I did see a rod that somebody restrung, but they didn't go through the last 3 guides.
I don't know about that one.
Doug, you want to talk about it?
I did see that. I don't know who.
I mean, I know who retied that rod. I just wanted to know if they were going to come out with it, because if you ask for forgiveness, there might be fewer demerits. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Can we give a Fish USA little swags, like a T-shirt or something, maybe a hat, to somebody when they comment below on this, on who feels after they watch our video, like who should get the demerit and why, and we pick the best ones. And when I say we, me, but
judge and jury. Eh?
So we're going to find out who listened this long here as we get ready to go have some more adult beverages and ice cream, because we have earned ice cream today. There's a killer place up here for ice cream, y'all. But at any rate, comment below on who you think should get a demerit and why. And it can be multiple people. Like, I feel like even if you want to if you really want a chance at winning this, I'm going to give you the hint. Like, you could say, like, Chris, 3 demerits for not tying properly. Or, CJ, Chip's son, 1 for a bad net job that probably will end up on video because I approve all final things. But, things like that. I mean, Doug, do you want to just, because I feel like you're going to get less demerits if you come out with it now and you just ask for forgiveness.
I think there's, I don't know. I just hope there's one thing on camera that you might not have caught.
Perfect.
We'll see.
Oh, perfect. Chip, do you want to? You're like the papa of this group. You're the grandmaster captain.
Well, I know I didn't do anything wrong. I was just yelling at you all the time. I thought you were walleye fishing again, letting the fish go in the divers and the riggers.
Dude, I caught all the giants. That's why. This thing is all over the place.
Control that thing at the back.
I didn't break none off like you guys did. I made it happen.
Well, I did break one off, but
I watched. I watched you.
You had the rod. It's like, I don't know what to do. What do I do?
No, see, I asked. There's a couple times I didn't know what to do.
I can't.
Even me.
I can't.
Even me, veteran guy. I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what should we do? Because you got to play chess out here, boys. We're playing checkers, bro.
I know I had one coming off the
you had,
rigger.
a couple,
and
yeah.
I had one right off the rigger, and next minute I know it's wrapped the line right around the twilly tip on the diver and snapped it.
I think there were
Like-
more poor neck jobs yesterday than I think I've ever seen on one trip in my entire life. It was brutal yesterday.
It was brutal.
And not just one person.
No, there was multiple.
There's multiples.
I think we're gonna make a mashup of those. Let you guys just see.
Bloopers
boom, boom,
reel.
boom, boom, boom. Just like, I work with Beckman nets. You guys sell a lot of nets there.
Yeah.
Fish USA flagship nets and Beckman nets. I feel like they may fire us over this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sir, give us your keys. You shouldn't drive anymore. Like when Grandpa got his driver's license taken away, that was what I saw with the net a few times.
Say make a bigger net, but I don't know if that would have mattered yesterday either.
But I just want to close it with this. I went down under the water. Boom. That was just feel. That was just raw.
That
gut
fish was going into the
experience.
drops, too.
Lucky stab in the dark, man.
I just made it happen now. Just made it happen. Is there anything you guys would like to close this up with? Anything, Doug? We broke your cherry here on Lake Michigan. Before we go and get ice cream,
No, it was
Team Commander Chip. Anything?
That was a phenomenal experience. I think it's always good to be able to go fish different places just to see how other people do things, how different ports. So just noticing just how everybody's rods here, walking up and down the docks and seeing what they're using. It's just pretty cool, and I think it's always good to, as a fisherman and an enthusiast that loves fishing, just go see how other people do it. Whether you're salmon fishing, whether you're going on a trip, or whatever, you can always pick up something and learn something to make yourself just a better angler.
I mean, from a standpoint of what you guys sell at Fish USA, it's crazy that, how certain areas get really heavy on something. And I think some of it's because you do it because that's the way everybody did it. And then sometimes when you bring in a different tactic, like I know guys from my neck of the woods, they used to always come to Lake Michigan. And then when maybe Lake Ontario, they felt was a little better situation or catching some bigger fish, those guys for their fun trips went over there. And some of that, when they went over there with their meat rigs, because I don't feel like guys ran the meat over here as much, generally speaking, as they did in Ontario. And I think back in the day, they had to on Lake Ontario. And all of a sudden, when those guys come over here now again, because the bite's really good over here, a lot of quantity, and they're bringing some of those tactics over, and all of a sudden, hey, guess what? It works real good.
Sure. No, absolutely. So it's just always important to learn, and nobody's old enough. Nobody knows everything. You can always learn and pick up different things, no matter where you go and how you fish.
The Dean of Demerits says, we are done. Till the next episode, thanks you for tuning into the Bigwater Podcast. We've got all kinds of stuff out there. If you can't find us, you probably suck really bad at fishing because we're everywhere. Bigwater Fishing, Spotify. I think we're even on Google, Apple, Stitcher. I don't know, all of those things. YouTube, of course, if you're watching us and you get to see Doug, he broke a couple mirrors. He said I was ugly, but apparently he doesn't own a mirror. Bigwaterfishing.com. That's what we're doing. Till the next time.